What stood out in that Final Four rankings for you?
I think it was the same thing everybody else thought, just that the committee moved LSU ahead of Ohio State. Listen, LSU has a case. Ohio State has a case. I think if you play the long game and the consistency game, you would probably lean towards Ohio State for a season of domination, no bad games, consistently showing up both sides of the football. But then you look at LSU and you start looking at the resume, and they got 4 wins in the top 13. And that's pretty daggum impressive. And they destroyed Georgia, the number 4 team in the country, this weekend at the SEC championship game. So I think just, Dan, this year was the most important year to have the number 1 seed by far, because number 3 can win the whole thing. This is the first time we've come into where you go, there's 3 legitimate teams I think that if you picked could be the favorite on any given day. So that's kind of crazy, and it's going to be a heck of a playoff because of it.
Yeah, I brought this up, and I heard from my friends who live in Ohio, where I grew up, that Ohio State, look at what we did in the second half. And I said, but what did you not do in the first half? I can't give you credit for the second half if I can't give you blame for the first half. And LSU, from start to finish, dominated a Georgia team that, didn't even belong on the field with them. So I know it's recency bias, but I've looked at LSU and, what they did against Alabama maybe doesn't look that impressive, but what they did against Georgia in Atlanta, I'm going to give them the nod here. It's slight, but I would give them the nod.
Well, Dan, I would say that the best win of the season, period, is LSU going to Tuscaloosa and beating Alabama. I mean, if you want to point to the most impressive thing, to me, that was the most impressive thing, because Alabama, obviously, at home, they don't lose. They don't lose very many games, period, and they had a guy named Tua at quarterback. So, I definitely think that was if you're going to highlight one win that was the best win, I think that was the best win in college football this season.
And Clemson, I know Dabo Swinney loves playing the underdog role, the woe is me, and, the committee didn't want us in, and they got us number 3 here. All right. Let's see what you do against Ohio State. I know that we're not quite sure how good Clemson is, but they are defending champs. Great running back. They got a great quarterback. Defense isn't as good as last year, but Clemson against Ohio State. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, I know how good Clemson is because I've seen this time and time again, and we've seen this time and time again. They have the easiest path every year, and I would argue this might be the easiest path in the history of college football with what they had to go to get to the playoff. But you look at the dudes they have, they got dudes, Dan. I mean, they got guys like Ross and Higgins out wide that are 6'4", 6'5" wide receivers that can make plays. Trevor Lawrence has been spinning that thing and finally, got over a little bit of a sophomore slump the way he started this season. By the way, it's hard when you have humps like me talking about Trevor Lawrence in the offseason saying, hey, if he left right now after his freshman year, he's going to be the number 1 pick. And he heard that all offseason. And he heard how great he was. And I think once he started clicking and taking what the defense gives them and not turning the football over, now they can win. They can win it all. Isaiah Simmons is one of the best defensive playmakers in college football. I think it'll be a heck of a showdown. You got 2 running backs that are probably 2 of the more underrated machines. You're going to talk about Fields a lot, and you're going to talk about Lawrence a lot. ETN, he's only averaging about 9 yards a carry in his career. That's, he's okay, Dan. He's going to do the trick. And then J.K. Dobbins, every big game for Ohio State, he's carried the ball 30-plus times and had over 150 yards and been a key cog. So, man, you got playmakers, Palooza. It'll be interesting to watch Chase Young, the number 1 pick maybe this year, chasing around Trevor Lawrence, maybe the number 1 pick next year. And there will not be a shortage of dudes that you're going to see on NFL Sundays and Monday Night Football in the future.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.